Do you ever wonder why you're doing what you do in life? Do you wish that you could be really happy and passionate about what you do? Or maybe you already are and you want to expand in a different direction. Hi, I'm Barbara Ann, host of What the Why? I love what I do. A lot of that has to do with my story, my journey to this point in life. And guess what? Everybody has a story. So please join me for conversations with leaders from all walks of life about what they do, and more importantly, why they do it, how they found their core purpose, their passion, their mission in life. And if you're looking for your own, maybe you'll get some great suggestions on how you too can find your why. Welcome back to another episode of What the Why. If you haven't seen us before, our show features conversations with diverse leaders from all walks of life, and I mean all walks of life. And it focuses on what they do and why they do it. Maybe you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, or you feel stuck and you want to get unstuck, whether that's in your job, your company, or even your life. All of our guests actually have something in common with you in some way. At some point along the line, they felt similarly about something and decided to pivot or change and do something about it. And today's guest is no exception. I like to see Tom as see a need, fill a need. So, Tom, are you a professor? You're Dr. Tom.
Yeah, so I think my title at University of Pennsylvania is lecturer.
Okay.
So I'm a part-time lecturer and have a PhD in social work.
Okay. I just want to make sure. So, because most of us that know you, you're Tom. But
Right.
so Tom is a social worker, licensed social worker, and he is extremely passionate about helping address the problem of mass incarceration, which is a huge issue in the United States by comparison to the rest of the quote unquote civilized or advanced societies. As the executive director of the Penn Restorative Entrepreneurship Program, or PrEP, Tom conducts a class entitled Social Impact Entrepreneurship Meets Mass Incarceration, which provides a group of formerly incarcerated individuals with intense training on how to start and scale a new business. And I actually was honored to participate in the graduation of one of those cohorts in 2024. So I'm super excited that he is here. Tom, in addition to teaching at the University of Pennsylvania, also teaches for Villanova University at classes held at SCI Phoenix, a maximum security men's prison. Tom completed his PhD and Master of Law and Social Policy degrees at Bryn Mawr College, and he also completed master's and bachelor's degrees in psychology at Villanova University. Tom retired from a long career in financial services industry, so he knows of what he speaks when he's evaluating businesses. And he served as first vice president at Wells Fargo's Advisors. Tom and his wife Janice are the proud parents of two fine young men, Tommy and Sean. And as I mentioned, super excited, been looking forward to the opportunity to have this conversation with Dr. Duffin. So, without further ado, join me in a virtual round of applause with Tom. So,
Oh, they're going crazy.
welcome, 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 welcome. So, as I mentioned, I got invited by somebody and invited somebody else and had the opportunity to participate in the graduation and the pitch presentations of businesses last fall. And it was such a moving and important experience to witness. And even then, as I sat there, before knowing your bio and I thought I had a lot of initials and degrees. Wow. But before I knew any of that, you sit there and you wonder, what did little Tom growing up, what did little Tom want to be?
So funny. All as when I was a kid, I wanted to be a doctor. It's not this kind of doctor, but I wanted to be a that. So I always wanted to be a doctor when I was a kid. Uh,
Wow. So now how did you go from being wanting to be the medical doctor, I presume when you say you wanted to be that kind
right.
of doctor, to being, I mean, Master of Law, PhD, master's and bachelor's degrees in psychology? How did you get from little Tom wanting to be the medical doctor to Tom, the PhD, who spends part of his time teaching in prisons?
So yeah, so I'll say it was a rather circuitous route. So I certainly never had this in mind. And I remember though, I think when I was about 11 or 12, went to the vet with my dog at the time and passed out when they catheterized my dog and realized that I really was not cut out at all for medicine. So had to pivot. Ultimately, then was a psychology major at Villanova, and that was the route that I intended to take. Took a part-time job in the mailroom at Merrill Lynch just after school, and that turned out to be super consequential. So wound
Mhm.
up kind of abandoning a bit psychology, truthfully, getting just sucked in by money of being getting just getting a nice paycheck. So, you know, wound up just because of a part-time job in the mailroom at Merrill Lynch, wound up staying in that career for close to 40 years. So it was a long, we'll say left turn, and but always always wanted to have work that was more meaningful, and found this ultimately didn't.
Yeah. So you retire from 40 years.
Yeah, I
You
think I was yeah, was it that long? I started in the mailroom in 1980. Yeah, so it was pretty close. Yeah, so it was
Wow.
about 38 years from
I
the time
know.
I walked in that mailroom till the time till I left. But had in the interim, like occasionally was thinking about like doing other things. So pursued all those degrees while I was still employed in the financial services business. And always wanted to have a job with more meaning. And after completing a PhD and then getting asked, I was at Bryn Mawr College and getting asked to teach some courses. And even then, even when I was earning a PhD, it never really crossed my mind that I would be on the other side of the desk teaching or that that was an aspiration. So it was kind of more of a revelation that it was like, this is what I want to do. So wound up teaching. And then as I became a licensed social worker, still never quite figured out which population I was most interested in working with. And I wound up, there was an article in the Philadelphia Inquirer maybe 8 years ago about this program that Villanova runs at SCI Phoenix, this maximum security men's prison that used to be Graterford Prison, um, and read about this program where men incarcerated there can earn bachelor's degrees. And I was like, wow, that sounds really cool. Wrote to the executive director of it and said I'd be interested in teaching if possible, got hired, and that turned out to be just amazingly consequential. That take walking the first time going through those walls, connecting with this population, it was like, okay, this this is what I want to do, and this is who I want to work with. And still, I'm teaching again this semester for Villanova I'm teaching an economics course this semester, and again, going in there, everyone's read they read everything, did the work, hands are up, engaged in the conversation. It's just a joy to teach there.
Mhm. And that was going to be you perfect segue to my next question is, you know, what is it about the population that you it really feel like this is the group I mean, I know you teach other groups, but what is it about this population that really helped you recognize that this was something that you really were passionate about doing?
Yeah, so I get one, I love how grateful that they are and deserving. And so they surprised me, and I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was surprised in any event. One, just how incredibly bright students I have there. So there's
Mm.
so many really bright and decent people incarcerated. When I first walked inside the prison, I expected, I thought it would be scarier, say, and instead, we have an aging population in prison.
Mhm.
It's a lot of older black men that just you would immediately pick up their decency. And so in any event, it's that kind of going in and then just learning and then finding what terrific students so many are, that it was just like, okay, this is who I want to work with. This is what and continued. And every time whatever kind of work I do with this population, I get back every part that I put in. So, um,
Wow.
pleasure.
So you're there, you're teaching different courses, and then along comes an opportunity to work with Penn. Tell us about how, because I'm not even clear if you were the one who founded the Penn Restorative Entrepreneurship Program or
So
if it found you.
yeah, so that's funny because I feel so connected to it. I feel like I founded it, and because it feels so perfect, but I did not. So instead, also pitched a job at Penn, then learned of that program, and then was like, oh, okay, this would be a great fit for me. So between my background in business, my degree in social work, my teach, and so met with the then, director who said like, wow, you'd be perfect for this. How about if you become the executive director of this program, teach this course? And and then that first semester, which was during COVID, it was on Zoom, and had a big class, and it was a blast, but it was super messy. And and a first time is always a challenge. This iteration that I have this semester, I guess, is our fifth, and so we're doing I feel like a good job of each year trying to make it better. And as I had mentioned to you, I was thrilled to have you on the panel last year. You added so much, and I've been on this mission. So when I was teaching the same course, because I also taught this course for Villanova inside SCI Phoenix. And
Mhm.
I'll never forget going, one of the classes, one of the guys who happens to be in my economics class that I'll meet this Thursday, but Mooch is his name. He raised his hand. He's like, Tom, this is great. We're learning a lot. Really appreciate it. But, talking about starting businesses. And he was like, but who's going to give money to guys like us? And that question really shocked me. It was like, okay, for me to teach this course with any integrity, I am going to have to come up with an answer to that question of so I've been attempting to and have made some great connections. So, like, I'm connected now. One of the people, so they're in Philadelphia, I don't know if you're familiar with the Fountain Fund, but the Fountain
Mhm.
Fund do low interest rate, 3% loans to people that experienced incarceration. Well, the director of the Philadelphia um, Fountain Fund, I first met because he came to a lecture while he was still incarcerated at SCI Phoenix. He came to a lecture of mine. His name is Mike Butler. Now he's my dear friend. And we just connected. We got connected when he was released. And it's just crazy how the world worked to reconnect us in such a way after he came to that original lecture. And now he's actually helping me answer the question that Mooch had of who's going to give money to guys like us. Not give, they lend, but it's the opposite of predatory lending when they're lending to people at 3% and only those that experienced incarceration. So it's been a tremendous kind of resource and connection. And while working also with Mike and the Fountain Fund with others, we got to meet friends of yours who then introduced you and had you on the panel. And this whole networking and connecting has been really extraordinary. And in fact, Mike and I, and then a gentleman, Stacy Torrance, who also now works at the Fountain Fund, who took my course 2 years ago. He was a juvenile lifer. He got sentenced to life without parole at 14, which is heartbreaking. And he's just the sweetest guy you can imagine. Not bitter, did 30 years. He took the course now, went through connections there. He's now has a nice job at the Fountain Fund. He's helping other formerly incarcerated people get access to capital. So I really love how these connections have just continued to blossom in ways that are just, helping all sorts of people that we didn't expect to encounter.
Yeah. And again, perfect segue, because one of my questions was going to be, let's talk about some of the companies that you've helped. I mean, I know the panel that I was able to participate on, and Inda Nura, who's with the Enterprise Center. Shout out to Inda, and I got to meet the gentleman from
Yeah.
the Fountain Fund. I mean, first of all, we had somebody who came in and pitched, who had started several programs while in prison, who was innocent of what he had done. In addition to that, we had someone who was using designs from other incarcerated individuals to turn into high-end wearable clothing, uh,
Right.
which was gorgeous. The candle maker, I mean, there was such a diversity. Um, what are some of the companies that you've helped found through this program that really stand out to you?
So I'll say, like, for one, and keeping in mind, like, our definition of success for this, because is still relatively modest.
Mhm.
So people coming home from, especially after a long period of incarceration, are face tremendous barriers in the paid employment market. So it can be really challenging to get a job. And as such, I still see entrepreneurship as a bit more of a workaround because that they'll face barriers to getting jobs, and often if they are able, they're very low paying jobs that are demanding, and
Mhm.
so trying to instead encourage people to be able to be self-employed. So like a lot of times people like might think of entrepreneurship as coming up with some tech solution that that goes big and they become rich, whereas our definition of success is more being able to come home and become self-employed and start a business where you don't have to rely on somebody else for a paycheck. So, and some of the people that come through the program are starting or super interested in nonprofits. You had alluded to one of the gentlemen who took the course last semester, who had only come home months before after doing 26 years for a crime he did not commit, yet he is doing very well. He started a SRC, the Systemic Reformative Change Organization. His name is Tyree Wells.
Yep.
So he's
Shout
doing
out to Tyree.
shout
And
out
I
to
did I think I was his 30th connection on LinkedIn
oh
because
nice, yes. So
he was so fresh out. Um,
yes, indeed. And we had so one thing we got in touch with a organization pushing progress Philly, P3. Dr. Kareem Brown is the executive director. They have a pitch panel like mine. So we do this Shark Tank like pitch panel at the end. Well, they had one also. So Tyree and another gentleman that took the course, Yasir, were able to pitch in his competition. Tyree got for his organization, got a $10,000 grant. Another Yasir got a $5,000 check for his business of reselling high-end sneakers. So it was kind of fun to
Yeah,
help.
I forgot
Yeah.
about him. He was
Yeah, so your
amazing.
year was
Oh my
great.
gosh.
So yeah, so it was kind of fun that having students. So how this program operates is that I'll recruit for one, a cohort of formerly incarcerated people. This semester, which just started a couple weeks ago, we have 11 returning citizens. And then we have a couple dozen University of Pennsylvania graduate students taking the course. And then together, we put together teams and they'll work together throughout the semester on taking their business idea and trying to put it into a pitch. So you would asked about like what businesses. So a couple years ago, we had participate in the class Chef Mike Carter. He is the pizza chef at Down North.
Oh,
So Down North just um, not expanded, but so the founder and owner of that, Muhammad Abdul Hadi, who has been amazingly successful in he's won a James Beard Foundation award. He so Down North is well known for having outstanding pizza, and also that they only hire people who were formerly incarcerated. So they just opened up maybe a month and a half ago out west at on 50 between 51st and 52nd on Walnut Street, which is
no.
breakfast sandwiches and coffee. Mike is the chef there. I went the and again like Mike who has skills. So when he took the course, it was funny. He told a story just that when he went to Muhammad, who had heard about Down North, and Muhammad was like, "Oh, so what skills do you have?" And Mike's like, "Oh, I was locked up for 17 years." He's like, "Well, what did you do in prison?" He's like, "Oh, I ran the kitchen." I was like, and it was like, "Okay, so you've been putting out like 2,000 meals a week for 15 years, and you say you don't have skills? Like, so people coming home often underestimate what they were
Yes.
doing inside as
Yeah.
a skill building." So same with Tyree, our friend from SRC. So even though he was incarcerated 26 years, started organizations inside prison. So it's not a surprise he's coming out and being able to hit the ground running with starting a business and doing a good job
Yeah.
getting funding and helping creating change in Norristown and the community. So, but also I'd mentioned my friend Stacy Torrance, who's at the Fountain Fund, and I like to think of success in my program, in our program, as just also making connections, bringing, so it doesn't have to be like, okay, they start the business they pitched, they started, and now it's booming. Like, because we have to remember and keep in mind that so many businesses that are started by people with no barriers fail all the time. So
Yes.
the population that we're working with who have real barriers, it can be a really hard road. So I like to think that our class is about networking. It's about so having all of these Penn graduate students with all their networks and then connecting. So all our cohort of people who've been incarcerated way too long and their networks get cut off.
Yeah.
And so I feel like our job is to open our networks to help people think about what possibilities. So how to get assets, but also maybe paid employment. Because I as much as promoting entrepreneurship, sometimes I have to point like just be mindful that entrepreneurship can be really challenging.
Hmm.
And for many, getting a steady paycheck
Yeah.
can be a better outcome than starting a small business. And that's why just open talking about it as a workaround.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, I actually was going to say, and for the lives that they're changing for those who are going through the program, um, I imagine that it's really, really life-changing for the people who are mentoring them through the program.
Yeah, so that's another, yeah. So for the students who sometimes are fearful when they come in about like, okay, I don't know a lot about entrepreneurship, or like I'll have, some students who that's really a skill of theirs, others that are maybe in the school of social work who don't feel like they have that. But it also, the same way that just the first time I walked through those walls of that prison and I was like, okay, my going forward has changed. Like this is where I want to focus my time and energy and resources. So knowing that similarly with our students, that their eyes can also be open of like, wow, this is I had in my mind these other ideas about people that experience incarceration that are just simply not accurate. And as such, now with this exposure, then and recognizing that they're they could be just extraordinary in so many different ways. So like so many coming home have gigantic hearts, many big brain, like there's some really talented and resourceful people. And as such, having our students just get that firsthand. So like we teach the course the same way like we begin the course like at the beginning of each class. We're really also reviewing and discussing this whole notion of social impact investing in finance. And we do it from a critical perspective because it's a lot of hype in this whole notion of this space of social impact of businesses who are motivated or say that like they're out to really change the world, and a lot of times it's still just about money. And as such, I feel like often our formerly incarcerated aspiring entrepreneurs bring insights to the readings and to the discussions that are just it's like, hey, there's more voices in the room of different experience sets, and they add to the whole. It's not like, oh, hey, our Penn students or these gifted students helping these poor people coming home from incarceration. It's much more like a group of diverse backgrounds all coming together to work together to teach and learn from each other. And as such, our formerly incarcerated friends are teaching us every bit as much as they might be getting out of the program. So it works for.
Which is beautiful because bringing those different sets of lenses together is what unites us when
Yeah,
we can draw on our strengths and realize that we are so much more similar than different. And so what you're doing is, for those of you out there who are of faith, whether you call it God's work, the universe work, whatever, you know, my company's mission is that, we seek to create a world where every human being, capital B, being, can be their uniquely created or made extraordinary self. And the work that you and your students are doing in partnership with these individuals and that they're trusting you and vice versa really is helping to change the world. So, believe it or not, we're almost out of time. I know.
I
Oh,
could
so
filibuster for hours more.
I know. Well, see, that's the beauty when you're talking about what your mission is, right? When
Right.
even the most introverted of people, when they talk about what they're passionate about, what they believe in, what they know they're meant to do, it
Yeah.
shows, and it shows in you. So, we're going to have contact information for you in the links that are included with this video. But for those who are audio listening to this or watching it on video, um, what is the best way for people to connect with you and learn more about what the prep program is doing, how it can
Yeah,
be
would love to
supported?
hear from anyone. So email's probably best. My email is T like Tom Duffin, Duffin, tduffin at upenn.edu.
Awesome. So, and you can replay that if you didn't get it. But again, Tom's contact information will also be in the links that are included with this recording. And so, again, thank you so much for coming on, for sharing your story and your journey and the way that you and your students and the participants in this program are doing your combined part to really make the world a better place. And love to have you back again. Oh, and of course, CBAC will be there. Just tell us when and
December
where.
3rd, 5:15 to 7:15 is the panel. Would love to have you join us again. I'll send you an email, but December 3rd, 5:15 to
Yeah,
7:15, have it on the
we
calendar. It'll be a joy.
we will be there. I will be
All
there
right,
representing
perfect.
CBAC because we do support the work to the extent that we can as a not really regulated entity, but an entity that still has to follow certain rules and regulations. But we see the potential. We really see where there's an opportunity here that needs to be met.
Yeah.
So thank you again for
Hi,
being a guest.
Barbara. Thank you. A pleasure. Really, really fun seeing you again as well.
Yeah. And so there you go, audience. Yet another amazing person doing their part, living their why to change the world. And, again, this has been a really wonderful fourth season for us with the types of guests that we've had. And so thank you very much for tuning in. You have so many viewing choices out there, so many. So we really appreciate that you're taking the time to watch and or listen to our show. And please, if you know someone else who would like to be inspired in maybe the ways that you have, please share that with them as well. And also, please remember, whether you're looking to make changes in your life, no matter how big or small, tune in again for more informational, illuminating, inspiring conversations with guests such as Tom, aka Dr. Duffin, who found a way to live one life, pivot into another, and find his purpose and live it.